Hey, I'm going to get started by welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung You. Nice to see you all here. Good morning. Welcome to those of you guys that are joining us online as well. Today is what we call our group learning program, where each Sunday and Wednesday I get together with students, helping them to understand the path to enlightenment as taught with the Buddha. There's other courses and retreats and things like that too, but on Sundays and Wednesdays, we call this our group learning program. On Sundays, I go chapter by chapter in this book, helping students to be able to understand the path to enlightenment. And on Wednesdays, what I do is I guide you guys in meditation, and then I'll share a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you afterwards, and then I'm going to open up to whatever questions you guys would like to ask. The individual who we refer to as the Buddha, he figured out 2,500 years ago how to get to enlightenment. What enlightenment is, where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you will no longer experience any discontent feelings. You will have eliminated all your anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind, and this is accomplished through training of the mind. Oftentimes people think that these feelings are being caused by something external, but it's actually being caused by what's going on in your own mind. This is why you can eliminate it. And the Buddha figured this out and then helped other people to be able to understand how to attain that same mental state. So meditation is an important part of this journey to enlightenment. But you wouldn't be able to meditate your way to enlightenment. So we start our classes with meditation. Sometimes people think that the Buddha sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. This isn't actually true. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that led to his enlightenment. So we use meditation as a way to train the mind, but there's other things besides meditation that you would need in order to be able to train the mind. So you wouldn't be able to meditate your way to enlightenment, but you also wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment without meditation either. So I'm going to guide you guys in what's called Breathing Mindfulness Meditation. And the way that I start this is I start with some chanting to ease the mind into meditation. It'll help you to get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you like to see these chants, they're on a laminated sheet over there on the cabinet, and you're welcome to chant along. Yeah, you're welcome to get it if you like. During the lifetime of the Buddha, he used chanting as a way to help his students to commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. So it was a learning tool, it was a learning device. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that. If you see any of those kinds of things associated with the teachings of the Buddha, those aren't the teachings of the Buddha. He never taught any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer. He taught you to train your mind, and those things don't actually train your mind. So we use this as a way to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you end up getting one of these laminated sheets and you read the English translations, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of this, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants. They were probably created by his students either during his life or after his death. Because the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me, right? This would be ego or arrogance if someone did this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't have that in your mind any longer. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other discontent feelings to the peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment. And this teacher didn't want anything from you or expect anything from you. They were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart. You might have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for that person too. So that's why I think that these chants actually came from his students, either during his life or after his death. So I'm going to chant those on the way into the meditation, and you guys are welcome to join in the chanting if you like. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to be providing you some guidance, or I'm essentially going to be teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Everyone here at the temple and everyone joining online will just all be meditating at the same time. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we're all meditating. And during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear some cars go by. You might hear some music playing outside. There could be a dog barking or a bird chirping. Someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. If you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you will cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. That's why the mind is experiencing all these discontent feelings, because it's craving permanence while you live in an impermanent world. Things are constantly changing. You're not going to be in an environment where it's permanently quiet for you to meditate. So if you're in meditation craving permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you'll be annoyed or frustrated. But if you understand the world around you is impermanent and things are constantly changing, when you hear a sound, you know that that's normal. And that sound's going to arise, it's going to change, and it's going to fade away. After that period of time of quietness, we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting, and then that's where I'll start the class and just kind of introducing you guys to the teaching just a little bit, giving you a little bit of a taste of what the Buddha taught, and then I'll just mainly open up the questions that you guys have. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. It's kind of like assembling a tool belt and then employing the different tools that you need at different times based on the situation. So these 4 different positions, I teach them at different times in our retreats and courses and stuff like that. But today what I'll do is I'll just introduce you to the seated position, because that's oftentimes how people are learning, is in the seated position. So if you're on the floor in a chair, maybe if you're at home, you're on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair, you can sit however you like. There's not just one fixed way to sit. So what I'm going to share with you are just suggestions or recommendations that you might consider, but you can find whatever's comfortable for you. It's important that the body's not painful, but it's also not luxurious either, that it's in the middle where it's comfortable. So if you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just decide to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, this can impede the circulation and cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. But again, it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. If this works for you, you could use it, but there's other options too. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up, or you might just rest your hands comfortably in your lap. So you can use any of those methods. And the same thing is true for anyone who's sitting in a chair or a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting in a chair here with my legs crossed. So this is an option too. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. It's helpful if the upper body is erect. With the sternum up and shoulders back, it'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect with the sternum up and shoulders back, because not only will it keep the mind attentive and alert, but it'll also make it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do some chanting to ease into the meditation. You guys are welcome to join in, and then I'll come back in with the guidance afterwards. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakava Otang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sankho Sanghang namami Namo rasa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสเอมหะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังโหโตภาควาติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหะเกวาพุทธังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเทมิ สวากขาโตมหาเกวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเกวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหะเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, I'd like to welcome all of you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung Yu. Nice to see you all this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. This is called Breathing Mindfulness Meditation. This is a primary form of training that the Buddha used to be able to attain enlightenment. There were other things that he used as well, but this is, in terms of meditation, this is the primary form that he actually taught. So oftentimes students are building up their meditation practice with this meditation for about 4 to 6 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks, before they bring in some of the other meditations that the Buddha taught. Each meditation is eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and is cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. This particular meditation is helping you to cultivate the wholesome qualities of mindfulness and concentration. Mindfulness is awareness of mind, because you're going to need to be aware of what's going on in your own mind in order to be able to train it to get to this enlightened mental state. If you're not aware of the thoughts, the ideas, the feelings, the various things that you're having going on in your own mind, you'll never be able to actually purify it to be able to get to this enlightened mental state. And you're going to need focus or concentration, because you're going to need to bring forth your wisdom to be able to apply that in your day-to-day life when you're making decisions. If you don't have focus and concentration right now, it's just because your mind is untrained. You can actually train your mind through meditation and other things to be able to have focus and concentration. Then you can bring forth all your wisdom in any given situation to be able to make wise decisions that is producing wholesome results for you. And then you're eliminating the unwholesome quality of craving, desire, attachment. Craving, desire, attachment is the cause of all discontent feelings. That's why this is a primary form of training that the Buddha used in addition to other things, because the primary thing that he's guiding you to do is to eliminate discontent feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. You can eliminate all this from the mind, but you need to know what's causing it. It's not the outside world. Oftentimes people think it's their mom and dad that are making them angry or frustrated, or they might think it's their brothers and sisters that are annoying them, or their boss is irritating them, or something like this. But this isn't actually true. What's causing this is your mind's craving, desire, attachment, the mind longing, yearning, wanting things to be a certain way. Your mind's holding on. And then when your mind's getting what it wants, it experiences pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. But if the mind doesn't get what it wants and what it expects, it experiences painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So if you think back to maybe like a boyfriend or girlfriend that you got together with, you might have been so happy when you guys first got together. They were showing you affection. They were calling you and checking in on you. Maybe you're going to the movies, to dinner. Maybe you're having nice walks in the park and having great conversations. You might have even been having intimate contact from time to time. This was producing a lot of pleasant feelings because the mind was getting what it wanted. But then when you guys broke up, your mind didn't get what it wanted. It was holding on to this person. It experienced this impermanence. It experienced this change. And the mind didn't like that because the unenlightened mind craves permanence. It wants things to be permanent when you live in an impermanent world. So if you're holding on to this person, craving and desiring for them to be permanent in your life, when you experience a breakup, you'll experience sadness, grief, or other discontent feelings like anger or frustration. You might even be lonely or bored or missing this person from time to time. So your mind needs to learn how to let go. And that's what this meditation is doing for you. The goal of this meditation isn't to eliminate your thoughts. Sometimes that's what people think when they hear the guidance and they see the way that we're teaching it, is that whenever your mind moves off the breath, you cut that off and let it go and come back to the breath. And they think if they had thoughts that maybe something was wrong with their meditation. But you're going to have thoughts during your meditation. This is normal. Even enlightened beings have thoughts during their meditation. The difference is that in the unenlightened state, you'll have a bombardment of thoughts. It'll be like thought, 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 thought. Or you'll have a thought and you'll follow it, you'll play with it, you'll indulge in it, you'll watch it. And then 2 or 3, 4, 5 minutes down the road, you realize like, oh my gosh, I'm meditating. Let me bring my mind back to the breath. So an enlightened being still has thoughts during meditation, but they notice it right away and they cut it off and let it go and bring their mind right back to the breath. And then there's quietness and stillness between their thoughts. So your goal of this meditation is to notice your thoughts sooner and sooner and cut them off and let them go easier and easier. That's what's going to help you to produce this mechanism within your mind to be able to cut off and let go. So that now in your day-to-day life, let's just say somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're noticing this anger and frustration coming up. If you notice that with your mindfulness, you can then apply the effort to cut that off and let it go because you've built this mechanism in your mind to let go. Or say some other things happening in your day-to-day life where there's something you see on the news perhaps, and you're noticing this frustration and agitation arising. You can cut that off and let that go. But if you're not training your mind with this meditation, building that internal mechanism to let go, you're not going to be able to do that. And now you're going to be angry or frustrated or sad or some other discontent feeling. Same thing when you're in a relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend, and there's something that's happening that you disagree with, and you're noticing the anger and frustration arising. If you have this internal mechanism in your mind to cut off and let go, you can cut off and let go, and you can protect your mind where you can reside peaceful and joyful. If you do this enough, along with all the other teachings that the Buddha shares, eventually you'll get to the point where there is no anger that's arising. There's no frustration that is arising. The causes and conditions that produce those feelings have been eliminated out of the mind. This comes through purification of the mind or training of the mind. That's what the whole path to enlightenment is all about, is purifying your mind, getting to the point where you no longer experience these discontent feelings, becoming a better and better human being. But you need to know what's causing these feelings, because as long as you believe that it's the outside world and it's other people, you'll tend to act unskillfully. You'll tend to push people away out of your life. This is called aversion, where you might have pushed away friends or family members out of your life. And you can see that that didn't solve the problem because you still get angry, you still get frustrated. If they're the true cause of your problem, when you push them out of your life, you'd be peaceful and joyful from that point forward. Or the second thing you'll do when you don't understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings is you'll tend to be bitter and harsh and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. And now you'll just damage your relationships with those people because it's only a matter of time before you encounter someone who does things differently than you. And now when they do things differently, you'll get angry and frustrated and you'll be bitter and harsh and hostile to them, thinking that they're the ones who are causing you to be frustrated when in reality it's your own mind. And now you end up damaging a relationship. Or the third thing you'll do is you'll tend to put your expectations on people, trying to pressure them to do things your way. And people might actually be doing this to you too, where they're pushing you away. They're being bitter, harsh, and hostile to you, or they're putting their expectations on you and trying to pressure you to do things their way. So as long as the mind doesn't understand that these painful feelings are coming from what's going on in your own mind, and it believes that it's something external, you'll continue to experience these difficulties and struggles over and over and over again. So the Buddha figured out how to live this better way of life. He didn't teach a bunch of beliefs and that if you believe a bunch of things, something good's going to happen when you die. He didn't teach rules and commandments. He didn't teach rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer, and things of this nature. He's teaching you how to do this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development to be able to train your own mind and get to the point where your mind's no longer experiencing anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other feelings. So meditation is an important part of that. And that's why you would be wise to meditate daily. It's essentially like cleaning your mind. Just like you've learned how to clean this body, and that's something that you do every single day and you find benefit in that, there's this other part to this being who you are, which is this mind. And if you're not cleaning the mind, you're going to experience stress and anxiety and frustration and all these other feelings. It's just like if you didn't clean the body for several days, weeks, months, or years, you'd walk around and feel very uncomfortable in this body. The same thing's true about your mind. If you didn't gain the wisdom of how to clean your mind as you were growing up, you're walking around with this mind that hasn't been purified, and now you experience anger, sadness, stress, anxiety, and things like this. So if you're looking to really help this being who you are more fully, you're going to need to, yes, clean the body, but you're going to need to clean the mind too. And now you're in a place where we understand here in Thailand how to clean the mind. And that's what people would come to a place like this to be able to learn how to do, is how to train your mind and get to the point where you have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. You'll notice that you'll eliminate all those discontent feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. Your relationships will be really blossoming. They'll be harmonious, where you don't have bitterness and harshness and hostility towards people any longer. And because you're not putting that out, it won't be coming back to you. You'll notice that people will be polite, kind, friendly, respectful with you because you're being polite, kind, friendly, respectful with them. You'll get to the point where you don't even have a bad mood any longer. It'll be physically impossible for you to have a bad mood. So I'm just going to stop here and see if you guys have any questions on anything that I've been sharing, or anything from your own life, anything from the teachings of the Buddha, anything you're seeing here in Thailand you guys would like to ask about. I'll help you guys with whatever questions you have. If you have a question here at the temple, we have microphones in the white bowl there and here. If you just get a microphone, that'll be helpful because the people online will be able to hear you if you use a microphone. If you press the gray button and hold it up to your chin, we'll be able to hear you here at the temple and they'll hear you online. And then you can keep these microphones with you because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone with those people. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then for those of you guys online, if you have questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section, and I'll be able to see that. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions you like that way. So is there anybody here or online who has questions? Yeah, Keisha. Yeah, just press it. You'll see the lights come on and then they end up going off, but it'll engage. There you go.
Okay, I was wondering if maybe you could expand more on how do you deal with maybe other people's unwise behavior? So how do you not let that like infiltrate your mind?
What you need to do is not have a craving or an expectation that other people will function a certain way. Because what the mind has is it has these cravings and it thinks everybody should do things this way. That's the craving for permanence. So when they do things differently, the mind sees that as disagreeable, and now it gets angry or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. So if other people are doing things that are unwise, it's going to affect them. But you don't have to allow it to affect your own mind. You can choose that. You can understand that, okay, this is impermanence. Some people do it this way. Some people do it that way. Some people do it this way or that way or this way or that way. This is just normal. But what the mind has in the unenlightened state is it thinks there's a right way to do things, and then there's a wrong way to do things. And the right way is usually your way, right? That's the way the ego works, is my way is the right way. Everyone else's way is the wrong way. So you need to just see it as a different way. It's not right or wrong. It's just different. And you might consider what they're doing to be unwise, but if you understand the natural law of karma, you understand that it's their decisions are affecting them, meaning they're going to experience unwholesome results. But now, if you chose to spend time with that person while they're making unwise decisions, now it can affect you because your decision is to spend time with this person. So if you see someone making, super unwise decisions, and you can see how it's going to impact you if you continue to be around them. And when I say impact you, I mean like it's going to damage your physical body. It's going to damage your material possessions, your reputation is going to get damaged, things like this. That's where it's wise for you to step away from that individual. So while it's their decisions that are causing harm and they're going to experience that harm, it's your decision to associate with that person that can now cause you harm. But it can't cause you discontentedness. If you're experiencing discontentedness, it's coming from your own mind's craving, desire, attachment. And that's where you just get to the point where you don't judge other people and look down on them and expect them to do things the same way as you. And you just understand that this is impermanence and that's a different way of making a decision. You choose to not make decisions that way, but if they do, that's up to them. And now you just choose whether or not you're going to spend time with this person. And now you just choose to maybe walk away and go somewhere else and do something else. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions you guys have here? Yeah.
Can you give a little guidance on how you can control complacency when you feel it setting in, and what you would do to help prevent it from getting any worse or possibly make it better?
Sure. So complacency is where the mind is dull and lethargic. It's lacking motivation and enthusiasm. It just kind of wants to be, blah, kind of thing, right? So we can understand complacency, like if you didn't meditate, you would be complacent, right? Or if you weren't interested in reading books to learn about the teachings of the Buddha, this would be complacency. Or you weren't interested in coming to the temple and you did this for an extended periods of time. This is complacency. We can understand that. But the Buddha describes complacency in terms of the path to enlightenment, all the way to the level that if you have an unwholesome thought in your mind and you do nothing about it, then the mind is complacent, right? Because in order to be able to transform your mind and purify your mind, you need to be so dedicated, so determined, and so diligent that you're watching over the mind with your mindfulness. And anytime you see an unwholesome thought come into your mind, you need to apply effort to eliminate it out of the mind by cutting it off and letting it go. So if you're walking down the street and you're noticing you're judging someone else, and you're like, look at her shoes. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't wear those shoes anywhere. My gosh, where did she get those things from? She looks so silly, right? That's your mind judging someone else, looking down on them. You've got to be aware of that with your mindfulness and cut it off and let it go. If you do nothing about that unwholesome thought, your mind's going to keep doing that. It's going to stay wired that way. So the Buddha teaches complacency, that it's all the way to the level, if you have an unwholesome thought and you do nothing about it, it's complacent. If you're angry or frustrated and that's in your mind, and you do nothing about it, your mind's complacent. So the earlier ones, like not meditating and reading books and stuff like that, in this too, that you don't apply effort to cut off and let go, the way that you transform this and you get the mind to not be complacent is you arise the enlightenment factor of investigation and energy. These are two qualities of mind that you need to apply the effort to arise. Because when you're complacent and you're like, oh, I don't want to read books, I don't want to meditate, I just want to sit here and play on social media for a little bit, right? If their mind's doing that, you need to arise the effort to now investigate the teachings, to read some books, to do some meditation. Your mind's going to want to go in the other direction, and you're trying to take it in the opposite direction, because there's the body, then there's the mind, and then there's the person, right? The combination of these two things we call the person. The mind wants to go over here and frolic in the forest and play and be complacent. The person is like, hey, buddy, you got to get over here and do some training. And the mind's like, nah, I'm not doing that, right? I'm not meditating. I'm not going to read any books. And the person has to arise this energy in the mind to investigate the teachings, to arise this energy to not be complacent any longer, because the mind wants to go this way and the person needs to bring it over here by applying right effort. So this is complacency as it relates to the teachings of the Buddha. With that said, you do also need to practice the middle way, right? That you need to relax sometimes. You need to just sit on the sofa and look off into the stars or whatever, and, just sit there for 30 minutes, an hour, or even a whole day and just relax and do next to nothing and see that as being productive. That's part of your balance, right? But if you're doing that day after day after day after day for extended periods of time and you're not doing anything to move your life forward, then the mind's complacent, right? So you need to strike this balance where you're willing to go out into the world and make decisions to move your life forward, but you're also able to relax and be, at home or wherever you would like to be to relax and just chill. That's okay. And seeing that as being productive. So as it relates to the teachings of the Buddha, that's a rising investigation and energy. But in terms of if you're noticing complacency, like you're just sitting around on the sofa day after day after day after day, it's the same thing. You need to apply the effort to arise energy to now go off into the world and do other activities and balance your life out more, where it's not just sitting at home and doing things, sitting on the sofa all day long kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else you guys would like to discuss? Yeah, you have a question? We have microphones here too. These work up front. That's why we have them up front. Once they get to the back, they don't usually work too good.
I have a follow question about if you do nothing, just relax on maybe a whole week, but you still have the mindful, so you're aware, you just want to chill. Is that okay? You're allowed to do that, relax on the sofa the whole week? Or you think you should do some effort, you're not allowed to do this, and do some go to meditate? How to balance these two things if you just want to relax?
Yeah, it's not about what you're allowed to do or not allowed to do, because that would be like rules. And the Buddha didn't teach rules. He's teaching you how to purify your mind so that you can make wise decisions to develop a wonderful life for yourself. The teachings of the Buddha aren't about an afterlife and something wonderful happening when you die. It's about learning and growing and developing now and creating a wonderful life for yourself now. And sitting around for extended periods of time doing nothing doesn't allow you to create a wonderful life for yourself. So this is where you're the only person who can determine whether you sitting around on the sofa is wise for you in that given situation. Because if you were to do that week after week after week after week, you're not doing things that's going to move your life forward, right? So if you decide to sit on the sofa for a week, well, maybe you just went through 4 to 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks of, a lot of work. And now that's your way of balancing out your life. So it's not about what you're allowed to do or not allowed to do. You need to look at your life and create balance in your life. When it comes to meditation, you're going to need to meditate every single day. If you're not meditating every single day, you won't get to enlightenment. You're going to need to meditate 2 or 3 times a day, building up to about 30 minutes per session. And this takes about 6 months, a year, even 2 years to build up to that. And if you're meditating 2 or 3 times a day for 30 minutes, gradually with all the other teachings of the Buddha, you'll make your way to enlightenment. So when it comes to meditation, it's something that you're going to need to do daily and frequently. And that would be something that's going to complement your life and add benefit to your life. But just sitting around doing quote unquote nothing, where you're not meditating, you're maybe not even eating very good food, maybe you're not taking in any new thoughts or ideas from books or documentaries and having conversations with friends or family, things like that. If you weren't doing those things for extended periods of time, you're just kind of like what we call a lump on a log, right? You're not moving your life forward. So if you need to have some rest and see that as being productive. But you're still going to need to attend to your mind by doing things like meditation. The Buddha taught 3 things that you really need to be doing on a daily basis in order to move your mind to enlightenment. It's called the way of practice. The way of practice is you need to practice generosity, where you're giving and sharing with the people around you without any expectation of anything in return, such as your time, effort, energy, and resources, because that's also training your mind to let go. Because in the unenlightened state with craving, desire, attachment, you'll be quite selfish and you'll hold on to things. It's like my money, my phone, my friends, my computer, my clothes, my jewelry, mine, my food. You won't be willing to share with other people. So you're going to need to share daily your time, effort, energy, and resources. That's going to train your mind, in addition to this meditation, to let go. The second thing that he taught to do is to improve your moral conduct. Because in the unenlightened state, there's a certain amount of unwise moral conduct, bitterness, harshness, hostility that you have that you're putting out in your relationships. And when you put that out, it comes back to you. In your relationships where you're bitter, harsh, and hostile, those people are the same way with you. And you'll never get to enlightenment as long as you continue to be bitter, harsh, and hostile with the people around you, because that's coming from your own mind. It's not coming from the other people. So he gives you guidance in this core central teaching that he shares called the Eightfold Path of how to improve your moral conduct through improving your speech, your actions, and your livelihood. Then the third thing that you would like to be doing on a daily basis is meditation. You would like to 2 to 3 times a day be meditating using breathing mindfulness meditation and loving kindness meditation, and gradually building up this practice. So these are the 3 things that you would do on a daily basis. Practice generosity, improve your moral conduct, and then practice meditation. And that's gradually moving your mind to enlightenment. But in terms of everything else that you're doing, whether you're going to work, you're riding a bicycle, you're going shopping, or you're sitting on the sofa and just doing next to nothing, that's a choice that you need to make. And that's where you need to balance out your life and see what's needed. Attending to certain decisions that you need to be able to move your life forward, whether it's getting more education, more skills for your work, whether it's applying for a new job, or any other number of things that you might be interested in accomplishing. You would like to apply certain effort to that. And at the same time, find some time to rest and relax and balance that out and see that as being productive.
Thank you. But if, as you mentioned, like if I do meditation like twice a day, I find like very peaceful and like enjoyable, like when I sit there. But when I go back to the real life, I realize, I still feel very jealous or like have a lot of feeling. Then what should I do? Go back to the do the meditation again, or?
No, you need to understand the entire path. I doubt you understand the entire path to enlightenment right now. There's more than just meditation. Here, I'll just show you an image of this based on what I share with students. 1 second. Here we go. Right there. So this is just an image of the Eightfold Path. Meditation is just one component of one factor. There's 8 factors here. And behind each factor, there's other aspects, right? So meditation is one aspect of this. So if you do the math, each one of these 8 factors is 12.5% of the path to enlightenment, because this is the path to enlightenment. Meditation is one component of this. There's 2 components here under right concentration. So meditation is 6.25% of your path to enlightenment. There's all these other factors that you need to practice. So if you're in day-to-day life and you're noticing that you're experiencing jealousy, then you need to that's your mindfulness, where you have awareness of mind. That's what this one is right here. But then you need to apply right effort in the moment. What right effort is to apply the effort to cut off and let go of unwholesome qualities and arise wholesome qualities. So in that situation, you would cut off and let go of the jealousy and arise the wholesome quality of sympathetic joy. What sympathetic joy is the joy for others' success, even if you didn't contribute to it. So if you're noticing there's jealousy and envy coming up, that's because you have a craving. You have a desire. You want that thing that somebody else has, and you don't have it yourself. Your mind's longing, yearning for that thing, and now you're jealous because you don't have it. So you need to be able to do your meditation, yes, because it's developing your mindfulness and awareness of mind and the ability to cut off and let go. But now in your day-to-day life, where you're noticing the craving arising, which is producing the jealousy, you need to cut that off and let it go too. Your meditation is like exercising the mind, building up qualities in your mind so that now when you go out into the world, you can practice those qualities, right? So your training of your mind is a full-time job. From when you first start waking up all day long and as you're going to sleep at night, this is your training of your mind. So the meditation itself isn't what's producing the peace and joy. What's producing the peace and joy is getting rid of these cravings, desires, attachments, where the mind is longing, yearning. The meditation is exercising your mind and giving you the ability to see your cravings, where your mind's longing, yearning, and the ability to cut off and let go. So just going back to meditation when you notice that you're experiencing jealousy isn't going to ultimately get you to peace and joy. There's no harm in doing that. If you are able to go back to the meditation, there's no harm in doing that. But oftentimes you need to move forward in your day. Like say you're at a business meeting and somebody walks in wearing some really nice jewelry and you start getting jealous, right? You can't like leave the business meeting and go into meditation. But what you can do is in that moment where you see your jealousy arising, apply right effort to cut it off and let it go. And now as you do that over time in each individual situation over multiple years, eventually you'll get to the point where your mind is completely peaceful and joyful. Someone walks in with jewelry that looks amazing. Oh, wow, great. Their jewelry looks wonderful. That's really excellent. You have joy for their success, even if you didn't contribute to it. That's sympathetic joy. So you need to get rid of these unwholesome qualities more and more and arise the wholesome qualities. That's happening in meditation, yes, but it's happening in your day-to-day life as well through the active training of your mind. Mm-hmm. Any other questions you guys have? You have a question?
It's like meditation or this kind of practice can solve your problem in your normal life, like some emotion problem, some relationship problem. But why monk they have to left their life to do this practice? Like you said, when you see jewelry people, you feel jealous. Mm-hmm. But like monk, they live the normal life. They even don't know they're jealous. How can they practice?
So you don't have to be ordained as a monk in order to get to enlightenment, right? This is a certain lifestyle that they're choosing. You can live in a household life and still get to enlightenment.
Actually, I want to ask.
Hold on. You didn't let me finish. You don't have to live as an ordained practitioner in order to get to enlightenment. You can live as a household practitioner too. So when you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind, where your mind's longing, yearning, you can cut it off and let it go, like I was just describing here. But then there's also things you can do to proactively train your mind to eliminate craving, desire, attachment. And one of the things that you can do is you can distance yourself from whatever the object is that you're longing, yearning for. So for example, a lot of people have these cell phones and they might be craving for it to be permanent. And when they have it, they feel really great. They feel all these pleasant feelings. But if they lost it or misplaced it or somebody stole it, they would be very angry or frustrated because their mind's craving for it to be permanent. Or maybe if they go outside without it, they might experience fear that comes up in their mind. That's because the mind's craving for it to be permanent. The way that you eliminate that craving is, yes, you practice meditation and in the moment you cut off and let go. But one of the things you can do is you can distance yourself from this object, meaning leave it at home sometimes and go outside without it, and train your mind to let that go, and that it's okay to go outside without your mobile phone. So you're distancing yourself from the object. The craving, desire, attachment isn't the object itself. It's the way that the mind's longing, yearning for it. So what the ordained practitioners are doing is they're entering into a lifestyle where they're completely distancing themselves from multiple objects that their mind could potentially have craving, desire, attachment to. So they're walking away from their home life where they're not having a house and they're not having relationships with their parents or their a boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife. They're not even having the same relationship with a car or transportation or money or clothing or food or things like this. They're distancing themselves from the object so that their mind can let go of the craving for permanence. And this is one direction that someone could go in order to get to enlightenment. And that's like a real kind of like jumping into the deep end of the swimming pool. Or you could also take a more gradual approach through a household practitioner's life where you're doing the same things, but you're not doing it in such an extreme way that just one by one, you're choosing, for example, to leave your mobile phone at home. You're choosing to maybe, not have your mind select clothing, that maybe you stack your clothing up on individual stacks and you just pick off the top, not allowing your mind to choose what you're going to wear today. In terms of your food, you could walk into a restaurant and when you sit down and the food server says, what would you like to order? You can say things like, well, what would you recommend? And they'll say, oh, I recommend this. And you're like, okay, I'll take that. Not giving your mind the opportunity to choose. So you can replicate the life that the ordained practitioners have, the lifestyle that they have from a household lifestyle, but you need to understand the discipline and the wisdom of how to do that. And by the time you get to enlightenment as a household practitioner, you will still have all these different things that an ordained practitioner's life doesn't have, but your mind doesn't have craving. So having the object in your life doesn't mean you're attached to it. It's the way that the mind longs and yearns for it. So the ordained practitioners are living a certain lifestyle and they're trying to get to enlightenment through that lifestyle. But there's another option for you too, to live in the household life and still get to enlightenment that way as well.
So you mean you keep aware of your feeling and practice like this kind of things, so it's not an effect about your environment.
The craving, desire, attachment isn't the environment itself. It's the way that the mind is longing, yearning for these external objects, wanting these things to be permanent. So you're not going to be able to create an environment around you that produces enlightenment. You've got to not work on the outside world. You need to work on the inner world, which is going on in your own mind. And the ordained path is one way of doing that, but there's a household path to be able to do that too, and living in a household life. So you need the wisdom of how to accomplish this. Explaining to you how to get to enlightenment isn't going to be a 5-minute conversation.
People easier
It's going to be a multiple years for you to be able to learn how to get to enlightenment. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions you guys have? Yeah, you have a question? Okay. It's on.
I want to ask, what's the feeling like being enlightenment? No desire, no craving, and no frustrating sadness, or this? What kind of feeling should I have? Yeah, if we are in the enlightenment.
Yeah. So being in the enlightened mental state, it isn't a certain feeling. It's a certain qualities of mind that you're experiencing on a consistent, ongoing basis. It's a permanent mental state that you're experiencing at all times, where the mind is bright and cheerful and glad and uplifted. And there doesn't need to be any condition that is met in order for you to experience this. So for example, in the unenlightened state, if your boss comes in and says, hey, I'm going to give you a raise today, $100,000 more per year because you're doing such an excellent job, you'd probably get really excited. that's because the mind is having a craving for money. And if you get more money, it makes the mind happy and excited. An enlightened being doesn't experience this. They would be appreciative and have gratitude for that $100,000, but they wouldn't be bouncing off the walls excited because of it, right? Because it's these outside external conditions isn't what creates the gladness and cheerfulness inside the mind. The mind is glad and cheerful in an unconditioned way, that there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for the mind to be happy and cheerful. So it's not a feeling that an individual is experiencing. It's actually unconditioned mental qualities that are persistent and there at all times. The mind's not craving. It's not longing, yearning, and chasing after the objects of its affection, but it's also not over here where you're dull and lethargic and complacent either, like we were just talking about. Instead, you've brought your mind to the middle where it's performing optimally, and you're gradually pursuing your goals, objectives, or interests with enthusiasm, with ambition, with motivation, but you're not forming your feelings based on whether you accomplish that thing or not, because the mind understands that the world is impermanent, and when you set a certain goal, you're sometimes going to accomplish that, and sometimes you're not, and you can maintain your peace and joy regardless. Where in the unenlightened state, people think that this goal that they're trying to work towards, if they get it, they get happy. And if they don't get it, they get sad or frustrated. That's not actually a goal. That's a craving, desire, attachment that the mind has. But a true goal is something you can gradually work towards, understanding that you may or may not accomplish this, but you're going to make wise decisions to accomplish it. And now if you fall short of it for any reason, you can still maintain your peace and your joy. So your mind is just always cheerful. It's always glad. It's always uplifted. There's no anger, sadness, frustration, or any of those other discontent feelings. All your relationships are harmonious. You don't have difficulties and struggles in the world any longer, because in the unenlightened state, you'll have certain difficulties and struggles because you'll encounter a certain challenge and your mind doesn't have the wisdom of how to handle that challenge. So you will struggle and have difficulties there. But by the time you get to enlightenment, when we talk about being awake, it means that you've cultivated wisdom about the natural laws around you. And these natural laws in the world that are affecting you at all times, your mind is now fully awake to those. You've cultivated wisdom about how this world works, and now you can navigate the world peacefully. Where in the unenlightened state, you don't have wisdom of these natural laws, and the life can feel like a real struggle. It can feel really difficult in the unenlightened state. But in the enlightened mental state, that's not the case, because your mind's fully awake. You have full wisdom about the natural laws, and you can navigate the world peacefully. And the mind's always cheerful, glad, and uplifted, but there's not any condition that's producing that. So from the moment you wake up, all day long, as you're going to sleep at night, your mind's cheerful and bright and glad and uplifted in an unconditioned way. There doesn't need to be any condition met to experience that. You can't even experience a bad mood by the time you get to enlightenment. If you tried to force yourself as an enlightened being, if you tried to force yourself to be angry or frustrated, you wouldn't be able to do it. It's physically impossible to be angry or frustrated or even have a bad mood by the time you get to enlightenment. And this is a wonderful way to live your life. It's this better way of life that the Buddha taught.
Then how about I to eliminate the afraid of death?
How do you
Being
eliminate the fear of that?
Afraid of being death.
Oh, a death. Oh, okay. So the way you eliminate your fear of death is, first, you need to practice this Eightfold Path. You need to learn this inside and out, backwards and forwards. And that's where complacency comes in. The average person is very complacent. When I sit here and I say, yeah, it's going to take you multiple years to get to enlightenment, someone's like, oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, well, just be angry and sad and frustrated the rest of your life. Go ahead. It's up to you. Or you can spend some time to learn and practice this, and then you can actually experience improvement, right? So you need to learn this first. It takes me 2.5 hours to teach this entire teaching, and you would need to learn it multiple times. You're not going to learn it once and implement it perfectly right after that. You're going to need to gradually bring this up into your life more and more. But this is what you're focused on. So you need to learn this first. Then, in terms of eliminating your fear of death, is there's something called contemplation of death or reflection on death, where once you've got this well underway, now you can do this other activity, which is to basically sit quietly with your eyes closed and envision that you've actually died. Play it out in your mind as if it's real and it's actually happened. Maybe you've gotten a car accident, or maybe you've gotten cancer or some other fatal illness, and you play this out in your mind and you confront it. And now you go through the whole process of dying. Maybe there's a viewing, a funeral, a burial, or cremation, or something like this. You see your family grieving, perhaps, other things that are happening. You play all that out. You're not aspiring to die. You're not wanting to die. You're just coming to terms with the fact that this being is going to die. Every single one of us are going to die. We are all impermanent. So it's kind of like death is waiting for you in the back of the room, sitting in the corner. And you're like, hey, I see you, death. I see you back there. I know you're going to come visit me someday, but you know what? I'm going to come visit you, right? Instead of you coming to visit me and catching me by surprise and pulling the carpet out from under my feet or cutting me off at the knees and me being surprised that death has come to visit me, I'm actually going to come visit you and I'm going to get comfortable with you. And that's what the reflection on death is, or contemplation of death, is you're sitting and imagining that you've died and getting comfortable with that and understanding that that's a normal process and that you don't have to be fearful of it. The only reason why you have fear of death is that the mind is holding on and craving permanence. It's craving for this life to be permanent, or it's craving for this body not to experience pain, and you're fearful of the pain that you're going to experience as part of death, or you're holding on to your relationships and you don't want to let those go, or you're holding on to material possessions and you don't want to let those go. So the idea of dying is causing the mind to experience fear because it's holding on and craving permanence. And you've got to confront this and realize this life is not permanent. It is impermanent. And this reflection on death or contemplation of death is what's going to help you do that. It's like, I see you back there, death. You know you're going to come visit me, but I'm going to come visit you. And now let's be friends. Let's just kind of get acquainted with this death and understand it's normal. And now you can get to the point where you're not fearful of it any longer. You still make wise decisions to be healthy and have this life as long as you can, but you're not going to be fearful because you're not holding on and you're not craving, but you're also not on the other side where you could care less. You're still going to look both directions before you walk across the street, right? Because if you're craving for permanent life, you'll be worried and fearful with every little thing that happens, every little bug bite, every little sickness, you'll be worried. But if you're all the way on the other side where you care less what's going on in your life, you're not going to be attentive to your food and your exercise or looking both directions when you walk across the street. These are the two extremes. You would like to come to the middle where you're comfortable with death. You know that it's going to occur. You know that this body is not permanent, but you make wise decisions to try to be as healthy as possible while you're in this life. And that's the middle way. Mm-hmm.
Would you apply that to maybe the fear of other people dying in your life?
Yes, you can do that. So like if you have an attachment to your parents or your life partner, your sibling, your children, even if you have animals in your life that your mind's holding on to and craving to be permanent, and the idea of them dying, you would be sad or angry or frustrated or grieving. You don't have to experience that grief and sorrow when people die. You can do this contemplation of death with them in mind as well. But you would like to get the Eightfold Path well underway first, but you can envision that your life partner has died. You can envision your parents have died. You can do this for your siblings or other people, and this will train your mind to let go so that you understand that this relationship is not permanent. You and them are going to die at some point, and this relationship's going to come to an end. So you don't crave for it to be permanent, but you're also not on the other side where you could care less about your relationships too. You come to the middle where now you can thoroughly enjoy your relationships, where you're not craving permanence, and you understand that these people are not permanent in your life, and people are going to come and go, and that's normal. But what the mind will do is it'll hold on and crave permanence so that when a relationship breaks up or someone dies, you'll grieve and be sorrow and sad. But you don't have to experience that. You can train your mind to let go and still have the relationship. And now you can just have such peace and joy in your day-to-day life in that relationship because your mind's not craving for things to be permanent. Mhm. It's very liberating. All right. I don't see any other questions anywhere. So let me just check. So what I'll do then is just end by thanking all of you guys for coming. Thank you for your interest to learn and understand the teachings of the Buddha. As you guys would like to learn more, there's plenty of opportunities for you guys to do that. This Friday at 6 p.m., we actually have a social event here at the temple. You guys are welcome to come. It's kind of like a little party at 6 p.m. on Friday evening. It's called Temple Fun Night, where we come together, we play music, we eat snacks and play games and stuff like that. So you're more than welcome to come and bring your friends and other people if you like. It's at 6 p.m. on Friday. On Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. in the morning, we have classes here. You're welcome to come to those. And then on Sunday at 6:30 p.m., we have meditation here. And then at 9 p.m., we also have meditation and classes. You'll see all this on our bulletin board over there. On Saturday, we have an introduction to the teachings of the Buddha, which is at 1 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. And then all next week, I have a Foundation in the Path to Enlightenment course, which is Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you guys are going to be around, you can attend any of these things. It's all available at no cost. If you're not going to be around, I actually live stream all of this stuff where you can actually still attend from wherever you are in the world through Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. And if you can't attend live, it's all recorded so you can watch the recording. So if you guys are interested in healing from what hurting you so that you never need to hurt ever again, that's what the teachings of the Buddha are for. And I recommend that you start with this first book. You can download it from our website for free. You can take it and go print it yourself. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can order it on Amazon. This is the best place to get started. And then what I'll do is I'll gradually help you through classes, courses, retreats, and personal guidance to be able to understand that path, train your mind, and experience this transformation. So whatever you choose to do today, have fun and be well. Perhaps I'll see you guys in a future class. Stay dry. Sawadee khap. or maybe not. Go have fun, right? Maybe throw some water around.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.